Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at the best rookie insert card designs for 1993. Now, if you're going to take the time to make great draft pick rookie cards, you really want to be able to play around with the design, and inserts are really where you get to have the most fun with it. It's really good to do it in a main card set, but still it's got to feel like it's part of the set, so it can be a little bit restricting. Whereas when you get to inserts, you can do anything. And so, especially by 1993, as more and more rookie cards were starting to become just a part of the card set, you needed the inserts for these rookie cards to really be where you get to have a lot of fun. And we did have some really good designs and some that weren't all that great. Now, for 1993, I pulled out 18 cards that I identified as rookie card sets for inserts. And there are basically three groups. There are three they're the worst of, there are three that are okay to pretty good, and then there are three that are just great. And so I did it as two videos. So there is 9 and 9 where you have the middle group is split into two. You have the better okay cards in this list, and then I have the top five in the honorable mention, the top 6. So the first 3 cards they're good cards. They're not at all great. And the first one is a great example of that, which is the Fleer first year Phenoms cards in basketball. And right off the bat, first year Phenom, they've barely been in the NBA. How in the world are they first year Phenoms? Weird idea, but hey, whatever. And Fleer was just starting to really play around with Photoshop. In 94 and 95, they would completely lose the plot and just go nuts. But in 93, they were still doing really good designs for the most part. And this is a case where you can see just how much fun they were having. Not necessarily doing the best design work, because while the card is so much fun, and it really is, the card is screaming to be, well, it's not so much screaming as much as it is trying to be as bold as it can to be the whole focus. And the player just kind of gets lost in it, and that's the problem. While the card does an okay job of isolating the player doesn't really stand out on the card. And this is a case where the card, it also has kind of a claustrophobic feel to it, but this is a card that does not showcase the player. It showcases the card. So as just a general insert set, that's fine. But if you want to have an insert set that really gets excited about these players, this isn't the way you do it. You want to have a card that really puts the player up front and personal, and there's no insert set that does that better than over at Skybox. The problem is that with the Skybox cards, well, this is a great insert set. I mean, it always has been. In 1990, they started it off as a part of the Series 2 set. And in 91, they did the same thing. And then in 92, they turned it into an insert set, and it was still great. But the problem with 1993 was that there was an evolution going on with the main cards that affected this. Because in 1990 and 91, the card set for Skybox was all about the bold opportunities that you had with art at the time. And they were so cutting edge. I mean, you looked at it and you just go, whoa, I didn't know you could do this with cards. I didn't know you could do this, but I didn't know you could do this with cards. That was the spirit of Skybox in the first 2 years. But in 1991, they saw Upper Deck join, and okay, now the pressure is starting to come on. And when you look over at football and at hockey, you saw Pinnacle, so you knew that the stakes were getting pretty high. So in 1992, they made a card that was starting to get a little bit more sophisticated, but was still a lot of fun. But okay, now you've got, Upper Deck was upgraded, but you also had Stadium Club and especially Ultra. So they knew by 1993, Skybox had to be going toe-to-toe with those guys. And in 1993, they did. They have a wonderful grown-up card. The problem is that when it comes to the draft pick cards here, well, they're supposed to be fun, but that's kind of what was lost on this card is the picture it needs to be kind of hyper-focused, and it doesn't really have the detail in it that I'd like to see. But the big thing is that the background is just kind of there. There's no energy to it. So while the cards are nice, they lose all of the luster and the imagination and the vibrance of the cards that came before. It's still good, but it's boring. It's lost. But if you want to see a card that's not boring, well, maybe it is. because the top of the middle tier for me is the Wildcard Super Chrome rookies. And the Super Chrome rookies is, so I love Wildcard Super Chrome, and I feel like if they'd come out with it earlier, it could have absolutely saved Wildcard. I mean, I even think about the 1992 design and go, if that had been Super Chrome, that'd have been really cool. Interestingly, with Super Chrome, they just repeated what they'd done in their regular set, with the exception of these cards and their Bomb Squad cards. And while the Bomb Squad cards aren't too bad, the Super Rookie cards, which were specially designed around this, suffer from something that Pinnacle, or that Playoffs suffered with the same technology, which is that they never quite figured out how to really take advantage of this magical surface they have. Wildcard at least had all the details in it because of the fact that it had relief, or that it had indentations. But still, when you look at this card, it's all about all of that. It's all about the Super Chrome technology, or the Super Chrome use of the technology. And it doesn't, the one thing that's missing is the player, because the card is so strong and so powerful and so excited to be there that the player just kind of gets lost in it. The frame is way too much. That's the problem. I love the card, but it's supposed to showcase the player, and the player is showcasing the rest of the card. That's kind of the way that it works, and that's the issue. Wildcard, if they really started to work with Super Chrome, could have made something great. This is as good as they got with it, and it's too bad. But, you know, they only got one try. So that is what I have for the kind of the upper part of the middle tier. But as for the actual top 5 and honorable mention, now we're getting into an area where all of these cards are great. And it starts off with the Pro Set Power Update Impact Rookies. And Impact Rookies is what's kind of interesting, because with Update, they had 2 sets. They had rookies and they had the traded, relocated players. They were standalone sets that used, for the border, they used fake rock with different colors. And then they had one insert set that was specially designed to kind of fit with that, which is the Impact Rookies, which also uses the fake rock, the fake stone, but in this case it uses a nice baby blue, which really looks great, making this card stand out from all the others, but it also gives a really nice effect to the card, which allows these rookies to stand out well. It has the simple floating image of the player with a little bit of shadow around the outside, which is a cool effect on it. Not too much else, but the key is that baby blue stone around the outside, what it does is it allows for the player, especially with the slightly faded background, to pop out just enough that the card looks great. Now, this is not the kind of card that is going to show up as the prominent card in your rookie card collection. If you're going to have it that, there are going to be a couple of cards that really stand out, and then this is going to be kind of like the best man. This is going to be that one card that you go, oh yeah, I'm really glad that's in my collection. But it's not going to be the card you're going to have to really stand out. So I love the way that it looks, simply because it has a nice subtle quality and it looks like a great rookie card. It is one of the great rookie cards in a card set. But if you want a card to stand out, there's one way to do it above all else, and that's what we see at number 5 with the Fleer Ultra All Rookie Series cards. Oh my word, my retinas are already burning out of their sockets. This is so I mean, this card goes toe-to-toe with Score Hot Rookies. Wow, this is so overpowering. It's amazing because, I mean, this card will absolutely grab your attention anywhere. If you turn the lights off, you know this card's going to glow. It just has to glow. It doesn't have any fluorescent quality on it. It's just going to glow. It's just too bright. And that's really the problem that it has, because it does an amazing job of separating the rookie so that the rookie is distinct. But it's kind of tough to see him because the card is too bold and too powerful, and the player just can't quite compete. And so the first problem is the fact that this card does a great job of showcasing the player, but not showing off the player. But the other problem is that, look, this is a surprisingly fancy card. Every time I look at this card, I go, wow, that is really nice. But I get over it in a hurry, because if I was a kid this card would be one of my favorite cards of all time. It is so amazing if you're a kid. But once you start to discover girls, it's no longer going to be one of your favorite cards. And as you get to become an adult, your response is going to be, it's a bit much. I mean, it's a nice card, but it's a bit much. It's like when you were a kid and you got home from trick-or-treating, and that bag of candy, you could have knocked that down that night. You wouldn't have felt good in the morning, but you could have done that in one night. Your parents are looking at the same bag going, maybe a month. That's the difference, is that this card is great for kids. But for an adult, it's going to grab your eyeballs and it's going to lock onto them and it's going to bring you in, but it's not going to have as much of a staying power as other cards because it's all about the card grabbing control. It doesn't show off the player. And if you really want to see a card that shows off the player, what you need to do is you need to look at the Fleer Ultra All Rookie Series cards. The basketball version. Now this is how you show off a player. Full bleed image of the card, so it's all about the image of the player where the player is right up front. These cards are specially chosen with images that isolate and show off the player in a natural setting. So now you see the player because you see the player. That's the whole point. But you need just a little bit else. So the silver text at the bottom is good enough, but it's that hanging banner with the team colors in it. That's what makes this card work so well. Simplicity. It's not going to grab your attention anywhere near what the football version was going to do. But in this case, once you do give it a second, just a second, it's got you hooked. It is an amazing looking card. It really is hard though to pull these cards off because you got to get the images just right. And if you do it, it's phenomenal. But it still doesn't quite capture all of the opportunity that you have with all of these technologies that they had to work with. And so if you want to see a card that does a really good job of isolating the player, but also having fun, go over to Pro Line to their Future Stars cards, and these cards are really, really impressive. They use the Pro Set Platinum and Power trick of having a black and white background with a color shot of the player, which is a great trick to use if you know how to use it right. And that's what they were able to do here with these cards, is the first thing, they didn't overpower the image space with the player, which allowed for a big subdued area in the background behind the player, so the player kind of pops out. But you still got to get your eyes onto the player, and so that's what a frame does. And in this case, you got that gold band down one side, and well, I look at this card and I take back almost everything I've said about a strip down one side of a card. But I take it back for this card, not for almost all the other cards, because in this case, the gold foil down the side could be overpowering like the 92 cards that they did with the two strips. But in this case, they have some text in the side of it, and then they have that 1 of 22,000 text that acts as kind of a transition into the card, which takes a little bit of the overpowering spirit of the gold foil. It dilutes it a little bit and allows it to work as a counterpoint to the player. But then you also have a third element, which is the Pro Line Live logo in gold foil. So now you have 3 points, and those 3 points make them all stand out as islands. And so you get to feel the space around the player, and then the player pops out of it. Great design work. That's the kind of thinking where you really have to understand what you're doing. But they did a great job with it, which means these are cards that just do a phenomenal job of isolating and highlighting the rookie. But look, why look at the impersonator? Why not look at the originator? And Pro Set Power? Hey, they had something for just this, which is their Power Draft Pick cards. And these cards fully take advantage of it. In this case, they did a really good job of selecting photos of the players that allow the player to pop off with a lot more of the strength than we saw on the slightly more congested cards from Pro Line. Because here, it's a full bleed card, which gives them more opportunity if they choose the background to work. And that's what they did. I mean, Pro Set, in 1990 and 91, they were incredible with how they designed cards and selected images. By 92, they shifted all of that strength over to Pro Set Power, and they lost it in the main set. So by 93, their main set was just kind of there. but Pro Set Power still had so much of the design strength that they had at their fingertips. And here you get to see it. This is where they just did a great job of selecting images for the players. They're popping out, and then you also have the holofoil down at the bottom that gives a slight amount of punch. At the end of the day, this is a card where if you're going to put a rookie card on display, you're going to put it on your mantle or on your desk or on your dresser, something like that. This is probably the card you'd want to put there, because in an isolated setting, it's going to be amazing. In a set, it still looks really impressive, which is not easy to do with a full bleed image. But here they absolutely pulled it off because they have just the right elements to go into it. But as much as I think that this is probably the best standalone card, I have it at number 2. And the reason is because, well, Pro Set Power in 1992 wasn't the only card that was using this trick, because Game Day also used it. But Game Day was using it in the right form, which is a full black and white background with color images, but they were using a white border. And the white border is what made the 92 set not work. But in 93, they used a team color border in the main set, which worked a lot better. But it's when you go to the rookies, specifically the rookie standouts cards. And this is probably the height. This is definitely among the height of tall boys, period, all time. In the 60s, they didn't quite use the real estate well enough. Early basketball, 60s to 70s, still didn't quite use it. In 1976, they could have used it if they had good printing, but they didn't. So it's not really until you get to these inserts in 1993 that you finally see it at its full height. And wow, with these rookie standouts cards. I mean, first off, they have a good border, and the border is what really makes this work. Kind of like what I was talking about with Pro Line. Here they have that wonderful deep navy blue. Already a great border to have. And then you have a splash of color of orange. Now there is a combination. You have that with the navy blue on the outside, punch of orange in the middle. You can't go wrong with that. Now we've got some gold foil down at the bottom, which works as a really good component to make the card seem kind of fancy. And you get really impressive images right in the middle of that card with all the real estate. And now you're talking. This card, to me, is the one that does the whole package the best. While I don't think it's as good of a display card as the Pro Set Power cards, setting that aside, to me, this is the best whole package card, where every time I look at these cards, I just go, wow. To me, these stand out better than any of the others. Kind of weird to say that this isn't as good of a display card, but I mean, it's a great display card. But it's just such a great overall card across the board. So to me, that's what I put as the best insert rookie card for 1993. So let me know in the comments below your take on all of these, how you view them. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I do urge you to do so. And well, yeah, thank you very much for watching.